We're working towards starting a corporation, and we get that in this episode. But on the way, we make some evaluations about the early gameplay, share some more intel about how the game works, and see if this game is fun and interesting. So we left off after completing a one-day run at a store that was more of a mission than our own store, and I was looking for how to create my own corporation. But then I realized that starting a corporation with only $90 some odd was probably a bad idea.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I mean, that wouldn't even buy me a cheap cash register. Plus, to buy one of these properties, it costs thousands, which for the mathematically challenged is a couple dollars more than 90. I did poke around though and found the town hall, which seems to be mainly a built-in help system, which I found to be helpful, but not dramatically so. There's a few people in there that you can talk to and that give you information about things to do in the game, but didn't give me much of a guide on how to really start my corporation, except there was an option to pay a fee, sign a paper, and name my corporation. So, okay, it did do that, but there turned out to be a lot more steps involved I had to figure out on my own, and I'll show that to you. First though, we needed to get some money. And there's a way to get money that they provided as missions, similar to what we did in the tutorial on the first day video, but a little more involved. So you can pick any of these missions, which are contracts, and complete them for daily payment plus a bonus. The harder the contract, the bigger the payout. And here's where things got a little surprising for me. I found myself on both ends of a spectrum. On one hand, it felt a little grindy going through these contracts purely to get money so I could buy my own store for my corporation.
It always comes down to profit with you people, doesn't it?
I was working for the man, selling clothes, which is something I really wasn't too excited over. And in the end, no matter how much money I made, I was only going to see a fraction of that for my profit. I wound up spending a good 6 to 8 hours of gameplay running a series of these contracts, so part of me just wanted to get that part over. On the other hand, I learned a lot, and it formed a little bit of a groove for me, setting up each store, getting all the fixtures, ordering the goods, unpacking, stocking the store, and even hiring and scheduling staff to help with sales and restocking or whatever. And during this whole process, I found things were not as easy as it was during the first day of the tutorial. I actually failed 2 of the contracts by going bankrupt.
I'm concerned about your record.
And realized that this first few days of getting a new store going and building some reputation was really challenging. So those were all things I'd have to prepare for my own corporation. The other realization that I had during these little mini grinds through the contracts was that it was a little addicting. I kept wanting to do just one more day, and then just one more day. The kind of thing that draws you into a good game. That pull to not want to put it down and advance just a little more. Most good games have some sort of progression in them, and this one definitely has that. You progress in your available funds, the growth of your store, the quantities and selections of merchandise, staff, pretty much everything has a sense of progression. So kudos to that. The mechanics can feel a little repetitive, but it's balanced by that progression you feel across the board. And I kept wanting to come back to the game for the next session. Maybe because it was that new game freshness, but I've played some games that just never stuck with me after a couple hours. I'll also say that the game is in early access, so it's far from a finished product and a lot more games to come. But in this same early release state comes some struggles I had with the corporation, so let me talk about those. After acquiring what felt like adequate starter funds, I still didn't see a clear path to making my corporation. it wouldn't let me buy a property. I finally figured out that I needed to click on and select one of the headquarters. Well, not quite. It was really just the only thing I hadn't tried yet, so it was purely the process of elimination. But it worked and opened up a whole new set of options, and also left me with more questions and unknowns.
And I will do whatever logically needs to be done.
This is what I had to do, but not necessarily in this order. So you should talk to the guy next to the packages. He's the interface for setting up your package delivery service. Up till now, the packages were ordered and just showed up. It was easy. But that was until literally a few days ago before a game update. Now, wanting to be a corporate CEO, I had to set up and establish a delivery service for all my goods. It turns out you have several options of delivery companies to partner with, each with their own cost, methods of payment, reliability, time of delivery, amount of goods they can deliver, and all of that. I chose a flat rate delivery fee company. But then I had to go negotiate to determine a percentage of a fee to pay. I assume it was against the goods that I bought. After that, I looked around, but finally went back to the receptionist and asked to make a new concept. It seems they set up a new floor with each new concept you create. So now with this new floor, I could go design some signage and logo stuff for this new store concept. But there was still a series of things I needed to figure out and take care of before getting this beverage farm off the ground. You'll need to find the office at your headquarters that has the corporation fee and set an amount of your profits that will be diverted over to keep your corporation running. This seems to be the fund that will allow you to buy new properties, upgrade your headquarters, and things like that. But I think it will also pay the HQ maintenance fee, and everything I read said you needed to keep this corporate fund funded. Now, even though I'd set up some designs for the concept, it didn't have an actual concept associated with it. And that happens on the concept development whiteboard I also found in one of the offices at the HQ. That's where all this is happening. You get a certain amount of starter points to apply to which main tree your concept is associated with. And then it seems you can level up that concept that will scale with your store and its concept's reputation that you'll build over time. From those mission contract things I did, I know you start with basically no reputation. And the more you sell, the more reputation you get. So it seems like you should just always start with goods associated with low reputation. What I also realized is that there is a huge potential for expansion beyond just the clothes, electronics, and groceries. Not only could they add more items or subcategories, but whole other trees could be added like furniture, art, basically anything that you could buy at a store. After all that, I went and bought my new store property. But I still couldn't get it going. I hadn't done something at the HQ to associate the concept with the new store. So finally found an all-important whiteboard on the first floor, not on my concept floor, that allowed me to associate my new store to my concept. So by now you're asking, was I done? The answer is yes! I was finally done setting up this corporation, and even though it took a while to figure everything out, it was an enlightening experience. The game probably does need a little more guidance on how to get your own corporation going, but it did show me a lot more about the game than I thought there was to begin with. I thought it was just going to be mainly going into a store, furnishing it with shelves, buying and selling goods, managing some staff, and that being about it. But it's clearly got a lot more depth, both currently in-game and planned. And I haven't even gotten into a lot of the things about having to do with marketing, seeing the influence of posters or sales, decorating the store to suit my taste, and several other things I can see that are there, but I haven't had a chance to mess with. I also found myself going to bed thinking about this game and wanting to get my first store going, which is one of those measures I talked about at the beginning about having an interesting game that's fun to play. You need something with some layers and some depth so it doesn't get boring. And even though I've only got about 10 hours in this game so far, it's clearly gonna give me many times that many play hours before I become some sort of corporate mogul of drinks and veggies. At the Steam price of about $18, it looks like a good deal, and one that's definitely gonna give me my money's worth. And with it being in early access with a lot more intended gameplay, I'm pretty happy about getting into it now, doing a lengthy playthrough to see what it has to offer, then coming back to it later after even more content has been added. I'm going to be cycling back pretty shortly to Star Citizen, showing more eco, probably getting into Escape from Tarkov, and showing more about this game, but these are my first impressions about the king of retail so far. I'll be curious to hear what you think about the game, just given what you've seen. I'm dying to see if I can get this new store off the ground and be profitable in this next episode. But until then, take care, and I'll be talking to you later.